Hey, according to the interwebs, the great lock-in 2025 is upon us. But if you don't slow down and answer these 5 questions before you become unrecognizable or change your life in 90 days, you might waste your energy and your potential. If you take the time to answer these 5 questions before you commit to this lock-in or really any project, it is going to make your transformation so much smoother and better aligned with what you actually desire. I'm gonna go through each of these questions, why they matter, and I'll share an example of how I do this for myself. Let's get into these questions. And by the way, I think the last one is going to ruffle some feathers. Question number 1. What does it mean about you to achieve this goal? With this question, we're trying to figure out what is the self-perception that you are looking to have by committing to this goal or by achieving this goal. Because if you're trying to change your life, you're really trying to change who you are or how you see yourself. And with this question, it's gonna give you the opportunity to see like, what is the vision of myself? Who is the person that I expect to be once I have achieved this goal? Question number 2, why is this goal valuable, or why do you want to do this goal? Times 5. So it'd basically be like, I want to paint my room blue. Why do I want to paint my room blue? Because blue reminds me of the ocean. Why do I want to be reminded of the ocean? Because the ocean calms me down. Why do I want to be calmed down? Because the world is on fire. Okay, so this is the sort of cadence of how you would do this second question. You're going to ask yourself 5 times why to each of the preceding answers. The value of this question is that it helps you get to the core desire and it makes you understand what it is that you specifically want more of in your life. So often what happens is a goal or a set of actions is really just like a proxy to get to a feeling, or a self-perception. And so when you ask yourself why over and over and over again, it helps you to really unpack the layers and get to that internal core need that you are seeking to fulfill. Number 3, is this how you want to get to your desire? So this is a fun question because what you're doing is you're allowing your mind to think about other ways that you could possibly fulfill the need. Now that you've answered the previous 2 questions, you have a better understanding of what you're actually trying to get at, and you can determine whether or not this is the methodology to get to that desire. And it could be, but there might be a more fun way or a more activating way depending on you. So really what you're asking is not necessarily for the most effective method to get there, not even the most direct method, but is this the way that I would like to go about getting to whatever it is that you uncovered in questions 1 and 2. And remember, I'm gonna walk you through an example step by step. And so if it's not clear right now, it will become clear. Question number 4, what do you believe is required to achieve this goal? And this is just a brain dump. I just want you to write out all the things that you believe are necessary for you to achieve this goal. So not only is this brain dump going to serve as a first draft of the habits, systems, and processes that you will need to achieve the goal, but it also shows you what you see as the formula to success. The whole point of these 5 questions is to show you your belief system. It's to make it external so that you can look at it and determine whether or not you like what you're looking at. And I'll just make a small note about that. The reason why I keep in what you believe is required and not what is required is because, again, you might write something and say, oh, that's not actually required. That's just a rule that I had made up and was sitting like latent in my mind. So when you are looking at what you believe, not only can you see what is written, but you can also strike through anything that is not literally objectively needed if you're willing to change your perception. That might be a bit of an advanced move, but okay, question number 5. This is the heavy hitter. You wrote out everything that you believe is required in question number 4. Number 5 is asking, are you willing to commit to that? Are you willing to do that? To be about that every day for however long your lock-in is going to last. Now I want you to take a deep breath, because the answer might be no. The answer might be that you are not willing to do whatever all you listed in order to get to your desire. But the good news is, again, because we spent that time in questions 1 through 3, you know that there are multiple ways, multiple goals or methodologies that can help you get to your actual desire. And it's just a matter of finding out what set of actions you're willing to commit to. So that should be a relief. Sometimes we get swept up into other people's goals. It's really fun and sexy looking when that person is about it, but as soon as you have to do it for yourself and you go through that dip and it's really boring, yeah, now you're wondering, was this actually the best way to do this? And to be honest, I think that we should all be more comfortable rejecting projects that are not of interest. If I can't get it up for a project, like, I don't business with that, none at all. Because there's infinite ways to get to whatever it is that I'm actually wanting more of in my life. So I want you to remember that. This might not be the project, the shiny looking action that you initially started this set of questions with. It might not be the actual project that you want to commit to, and that's okay. Find another one. See if that feels better. Repeat the process. Okay, let's get into the walkthrough. Hi. So the goal I'll be using for this example is that I want to publish on YouTube at least once per week. And just to remind you, a goal is a set of actions that you can control, whereas an outcome is the result of your actions. I want to make sure that you're not writing down outcomes thinking that they're goals. All right, let's get into the first question, which is, what does it mean about me to publish a video once per week? That I take myself seriously, myself, or like my craft, that I'm building a creative muscle slash developing a skill, and that I keep promises to myself. So now I'm going to do myself the favor of transitioning these into I am statements. Specifically, why this question is important is because I'm trying to get at what is the self-perception that you believe comes from attaining this goal. So with take myself or my craft seriously, it's saying that I am like a real writer slash orator. The quotes around real are in our spirit, but not on the page. So this means that I can learn new things. And for me, that's really valuable because I feel like when I'm learning new things, I feel like a sight of possibility, which is a very valuable feeling for me. I very much enjoy that feeling of being, like, embodying possibility. And then the next one is that I keep promises myself. That's easy. It means that I am reliable. That's what it means if I commit to publishing once a week, and then that's the perception that I get out of that meeting. The next question is, why is it valuable to publish once per week? It's valuable because my creative muscle. And why that is important is because I want to express more in public. Why do I want to express more in public? Because it feels good, and I think people should hear what I have to say. Why is it valuable to feel good? When I feel good, I feel divine and I feel alive. Okay, and why is it valuable to feel divine and alive? I think it goes back to power. Yeah. I like to feel powerful, and I like to feel possible. Like, I like to feel as if anything is possible if I'm willing to do the thing. Nice. Third question. Is this how I want to do this? Is this the methodology that is most favorable or accessible or desirable? So initially, when I had written this question, or when I was, like, making this system, the question that I asked was, is there a more direct way to get to these things that I want? And the answer is always yes, because realistically, I can just go into my memory and think of times when I felt powerful and possible, and then just soak in those feelings, because the brain doesn't know any better. So I had to switch the question. It's not, is there a more direct way to get here? Is this how? Is this the method that I'm interested in using to get to these things? And the other thing I forgot to mention, you'll see as you go through these first two questions that you're probably going to have some repetition, right? So you can see I have like possibility and power. That is an indicator of what you want more of. That is an indicator of what you are actually interested in. And with this question, is this how you want to do that? You're giving yourself the opportunity to think of other ways that you can arrive at these things that you want here. So for me, I have determined that this is how I'd like to do it. The next question, what do you believe is required in order to do this? For this, I have a nice tidy list. I'm gonna need a plan and some systems. And finally, I'm gonna have to live a life. That's the one I'm the most excited about. As I'm looking at these things that I think are required, and of course there's like micro steps within these, but I can see that these two are the ones that I'm going to have the most resistance around. In terms of like an anchor topic, I've already determined it's going to be metacognition, which I'm so excited about. I already know that these two are going to require some work. I'm going to have to like shift my relationship and my perception of certain things in order to get behind these. And in another video, I'm going to talk about how to interact with resistance once you have figured out what it's actually about. And the last question is, am I willing to do all that? Obviously, I love coming up with a plan. I love thinking about thinking and creating systems. So those are going to be fun, but I'm also willing to change my relationship to and my perception of these two ones that I know I have resistance around right now. So we're going to put that as an emphatic yes. Woohoo. So this is the process. These are the 5 questions that I ask myself before I commit to any project. How I actually do this is I'll go through the questions and I will take my time, more time than I took right now. And I also will write it all out and then come back like another day, maybe 1 or 2 days later, and see if anything has changed, if any of my feelings are different, or if I have more to add. So definitely take your time as you're going through this process, but also, like have fun with it. Just be relaxed. It's not the end of all time if you get through this and you realize like, no, I'm not willing to do that. Or even if you get to number 3, like, is this how I want to do it? Is the goal the method that I want to use to get to these feelings and this self-perception? It's okay if it's not. Find a different goal. You literally have infinite opportunity. Back to the other me. Okay, we did it. Now we can go forth and lock in, knowing that the project we're committing to is something that actually matters to us and is actually going to get us to the desire that we want. You've probably realized that the great lock-in of 2025 is going to require a lot of discipline. And if you're like me, you may have inherited a definition or a relationship to discipline that can feel hostile at the worst of times, or at the very least, not useful. If that's the case, please check out my video about 3 lives you believe is discipline, especially if you're a creative, and how you can reshape them so that you can move forward with more ease.